This is BBC World News Today. I'm Rajini Vaidyanathan. Our top stories. Round 2 of the formal Brexit talks get underway. It's time to get down to business, say officials, as they try to hammer out some of the key details over Britain's departure from the EU. After North Korea's intercontinental ballistic missile test, the South offers talks about how will the invitation go down in Washington. And the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge become the latest high-profile visitors to touch down in Poland, the first stop in their diplomacy tour with the family in tow. Hello and welcome to World News Today. Britain's Brexit Minister David Davis has pledged to get down to business as the second round of formal talks on the UK's departure from the European Union gets underway. In a brief appearance alongside EU Chief Negotiator Michael Barnier, Mr Davis said there'd been a good start to the process. Mr Barnier described the atmospherics as good and said talks would now delve into the heart of the matter. This week's discussions will mainly revolve around 3 issues. The Irish border, that's the frontier between Northern Ireland, a part of the UK, and the Republic of Ireland, an EU member state, and the size of any so-called divorce bill, which is the financial commitment Britain made as a member and has to honour before leaving. And citizens' rights. What will happen to millions of EU citizens living in the UK and about 1 million UK expats in other EU countries? Well, after a year since Britain narrowly voted to leave the EU, the UK government seems at war with itself over Brexit, with leaks over the weekend suggesting the cabinet's extremely divided over the divorce terms. Our political editor Laura Koonsberg has the latest. Now from the UK to the US, where it's Made in America week at the White House. There'll be a show of goods on the South Lawn as President Trump promotes US manufacturing. But when it comes to legislation, there are fears that the Senate's healthcare bill may be stalled after Senator John McCain underwent surgery and is out for at least a week. And the president once again tweeted his support for his son Donald Jr., who met with a Russian lawyer during the election campaign. Well, here to help us through it all is the BBC's Anthony Zerker. Anthony, the White House is trying to shift the focus back to the economy, but bringing jobs and manufacturing back to the US is easier said than done. OK, well, thanks very much, Anthony Zerker in Washington, for the latest in US politics. Well, among President Trump's promises on the campaign trail was an immigration crackdown, with a pledge to deport criminals first. So far, arrests have risen, but actual deportations haven't. But a special report by the BBC's Panorama programme reveals that thousands of undocumented immigrants with no criminal records are also being caught in these sweeps, with families split apart in the process. Hilary Anderson sent us this report. Today, the Washington Post reported that the United Arab Emirates hacked into Qatari government news websites and social media, posting inflammatory false quotes attributed to the Emir of Qatar. Those reports then sparked the ongoing upheaval between Qatar and its neighbours, which led to the cutting of diplomatic ties. The UAE Minister State for Foreign Affairs, Anwar bin Mohammed Gargash, spoke to the BBC's Lucy Hawkins earlier today, and he issued this denial of that report. Now, for the first time in nearly 2 years, South Korea's proposed military talks with the North. The proposal comes in spite of the test earlier this month of what many experts say was Pyongyang's first intercontinental ballistic missile. President Moon Jae-in, who took over leadership of the South in May, has said he wants to see closer engagement with the North to de-escalate what he describes as a very dangerous situation. But how will that sit with the US and regional allies? Well, we're joined from Washington now by Balbina Huang, who formerly served in the State Department and is now at Georgetown University. Balbina Huang, is engagement the right way to handle the North Korean situation? Well, Balbina Huang, thanks very much for joining us, and we will see if those talks do indeed happen. Now let's take a look at some of the other stories making the news. The United Nations says the number of civilian casualties in Afghanistan has reached a record high in the first half of 2017. In a new report, the UN said more than 1,600 people were killed from January to the end of June, an increase of 2% from the same period last year. The majority of the victims died in attacks by the Taliban and the Islamic State group. Two bomb blasts have killed at least 9 people in the city of Maiduguri in northeast Nigeria. A female suicide bomber blew herself up at a mosque, killing 8 people during morning prayers. In another incident, the police say Boko Haram insurgents forcefully strapped explosives to a 10-year-old boy who they found herding cattle. The boy was killed. Relatives of the most Dutch passengers of the Malaysia Airlines flight shot down over Ukraine have gathered for a ceremony in the Netherlands to dedicate a memorial to the victims. The memorial site's close to Schiphol Airport, where flight MH17 left on its last journey 3 years ago. Investigators say the rocket that brought down the plane was fired from territory controlled by Russian-backed rebels. A terminally ill man has begun a legal challenge against the ban on assisted dying in England and Wales. 67-year-old Noel Conway has motor neurone disease, and he says he fears becoming entombed in his body and wants to be able to choose when and where he dies without those who aid him being prosecuted. Currently, it's illegal to help someone to die. Our medical correspondent Fergus Walsh reports. The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge have arrived in Warsaw for the first part of an official visit to both Poland and Germany in the wake of Brexit. Along with them are their 3-year-old son George and 2-year-old daughter Charlotte. From Warsaw, our royal correspondent Peter Hunt sent this report. And the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge will head to Germany for the next leg of that tour. Now, more than 60 years ago, a feisty little girl named Eloise took New York by storm. Her adventures in the Plaza Hotel entertained many who read the books and got lost in her world. And now an exhibition in Manhattan is celebrating the book that Kay Thompson and Hilary Knight created. It's appropriately named Eloise at the Museum, and we've gone to take a look. And the adventures of Eloise end our programme here, and her stories have spanned generations. Now, don't forget, you can get in touch with me and most of the team on Twitter. My handle is @BBC Rajini V. Thanks so much for watching us. Please stay with us on BBC World News.
Hello there. We'll start with a look at the big picture across Europe as you go through Monday night.